Welcome back, everyone, to the Rise and Go podcast. I am your host, Michael Davis, and I am super excited for our next guest here. Before we give her lovely introduction, I'd like to just share with our listeners where you can find us and really hype up our new website that just dropped today. So for our website, it's the same domain name, theelevantbrand.com, TheElevantBrand.com. Go check it out. We added some new product. We've got a better user interface for everyone for easier shopping, easier clicking. Give us feedback on what you think about our site. We're always looking to keep improving in that area. But yeah, definitely go check out our website, check out our new gear, buy some stuff, support us as we continue to grow. And if you were looking for us on social media, our Instagram handle is Elevant MPLS, ELEVANT MPLS. On TikTok, it is Elevant5, same spelling with the number 5. We are on Facebook at Elevant, and you can find this podcast and most of our podcasts on YouTube at the Rise and Go podcast. I want to give a quick shout out to our listeners again. Thank you for supporting us as we continue to grow. We love everything that you guys are doing to support us and continue to follow us on all of our channels. So without further ado, Jen, let's get you introduced to our listeners.
Super. Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I mean, I could do the whole robotic of who I am and being like, well, I'm a 15-time Ironman triathlete. I'm a speaker. I am an author. I'm a fitness coach. I'm a life coach, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, I am a little girl from Whitewater, Wisconsin, but born in Detroit, Michigan, who had thousands and millions of dreams in her head, and she's accomplishing them, and she's accomplished them. So that's really who I am as a woman going through moving forward to the second chapter of my life, and that's going into my 50s. I'm 53 years old. You could find, so like my social media, you could go to Coach Jen Rulon, Coach JenRulon. You could go to my website, jenrulon.com, and that is also fresh. So fresh and so clean. So happy with the new website. It needed it bad. And then you could also go to my TikTok. So TikTok is Coach Jen Rulon. I'm also on YouTube. I'm just not active, but on TikTok, I will go live either at nighttime or during the day on the beach in Costa Rica. And my TikTok lives, we talk about triathlon. We talk about living in Costa Rica and the move of, as a U.S. citizen coming down to a different country, and how I deal with all of that, along with, what else do we talk about? We talk about mindset, nutrition. We talk about music. We actually had some Gen Z giving the millennials a little bit of relationship help on one of the TikTok lives, and we also talk about the NFL. And I am a huge Detroit Lions fan. I was born in Detroit, so I've always had Detroit and the Lions in my blood. Then we moved over to Wisconsin, Whitewater, Wisconsin. I was there for quite a few years, high school, college. And then I moved over to Minnesota for just 2 months, and then moved down to Gulfport, Mississippi for 2 years, moved over to San Antonio, Texas for 25 years. Then I moved down to Costa Rica about 3 year. So I've been around, to say the least.
I love it. No, that's so great that you're so well traveled. I think about, in my day and age, living in Iowa for school, going to Tennessee for about 4 years, being down in Texas, and, trying to travel as much as I can. I'm not as well traveled as you, but, I think I can accept you being a Lions fan as a Vikings fan myself. I mean, both teams are having incredible years. And, it's safe to say, as long as you're not a Packers fan, you're all right by me. So we're all good there.
Bingo. I was looking at tickets for the Super Bowl because I thought, oh my God, it's a one-time thing. It's like, Can I do a GoFundMe
Yeah.
page? Hey, this girl wants to go to a Super Bowl, you know? Oh my God, like over $5,000 for one ticket.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
insane.
expensive. But again,
Yeah,
I think that would be worth it, for two
I
tortured
know.
fan bases that, have either been to the Super Bowl and lost or never been. It's one of those like once in a lifetime experience that I feel like,
True.
you got to take yourself up on. And yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money, but the memories will obviously last a
The
lifetime.
memories will last. And it's not just a one day event. It's just, it's that whole week being in New Orleans. It's like,
Yeah.
so we'll see.
You
Yeah.
know what's awesome is the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis a couple years ago, and I had an
Yeah.
opportunity to go down there, experience it. Now, I got to say, for people that were traveling in, it was probably a terrible experience for them because it's so cold and it's winter and
Yeah.
snow everywhere. But for our community and the city of Minneapolis itself, I absolutely loved it. It was a really cool
Sure.
experience. You'll actually, if you were to go to our social media page, you'll see some of the stuff. This was before I actually owned Elevant, and I was still like involved with like trying to do some marketing, social media stuff. So that is a trip down memory lane, just kind of remembering, where I
Yeah.
was with Elevant at that time, and just how cool that experience was. Because I was actually living in like South Minneapolis at the time, so I could just take the light rail right downtown.
Sure.
Super easy. It was so much fun. But yeah, I don't think we're seeing a Super Bowl anytime again soon. That's for sure.
Well, there's still a lot of game left. I mean, we got the Bears on Thursday, and we'll see. We'll take it week by week.
Well, you got another fan in me with the Lions for sure. That's
Good.
it is cool. I think Dan Campbell's doing a wonderful job with that
He
franchise,
is.
especially like where they were when they took over.
Yeah.
It was interesting, kind of like seeing his approach because he is definitely a player's coach, and
Mm-hmm.
he really made that team believe like, hey, it doesn't matter
Right.
where we are right
He
now.
did.
It's where I envision this team going under my leadership, and he kind of wears his heart on his sleeve, and
He
he is
does.
he's emotional, but he gets his guys to play for him, and it is really cool to see where the Lions are, and I think they're taking over for the Dallas Cowboys as America's team now,
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
right?
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome, but I really want to jump in and just learn a little bit more about your background. You said that you're
Sure.
very well traveled, but I want to hear about these Ironmans. It's interesting. My
Mm.
girlfriend's brother did a couple of Ironmans. You mentioned when we chatted, I don't know what week it is, last week, that you did an Ironman in Hawaii. I believe he did the same one. But when I think about the ability to do an Ironman, I think my body would fall apart. The swim would kill me. I wouldn't be able to do it. But
Yeah.
what goes into like training? What goes into mindset? What goes into really being
Yeah.
able to complete that journey?
Yeah. Well, and for the viewers that don't know, what is an Ironman? An Ironman's a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a marathon run. And so you have 17 hours to finish this, right? So it's grueling. So as a triathlon, so when I first started my business and my brand, I was more of the triathlon coach. I have transitioned into working with women on the fitness and the health side. But when I started working with triathletes online, it was very simple because there was a lot of triathletes that just wanted that accountability. They wanted to figure out what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And so when I talk to clients who still want to do an Ironman, they still could come to me. I tell them, I'm like, y'all, I need 1 year. You got to give me 1 year of your life to commit to this Ironman. So usually what will happen, I will say, I need 2 half Ironmans before you do that full. So a lot of people will give me a year and a half of their time to get them ready for that Ironman. I've had many clients come to me and say, I can't swim, but I want to do an Ironman. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, like what I still remember to this day going to go swim with Anna in San Antonio. And she's like, okay. I was like, all right, just go down and back. And she's like, no, I can't. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm like, you really can't swim. And she's like, no, I cannot swim. I'm like, okay, we're going to figure this out. And then she's done 11 Ironmans later. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of the triathletes that I work with, including myself, we just had this grit and determination to get to cross that finish line. And many of us have different whys behind crossing that finish line. For me, I had two. My first one is very well out there for my TED. I did a TEDx talk. You could type in Jen Rulon TEDx talk, and it was about the relationship that my brother and my dad had through sports, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, where I'm over here like as a cheerleader and a softball player. My dad just didn't have that bond. Like my brother and him had that intangible bond. So in my head, I thought, well, if I do this extreme sport, maybe dad would notice me, right? So that was in a TEDx talk. And then my second why was my grandfather. My grandfather, my mom's dad, he was a World War II vet, Purple Heart. And I remember watching the ABC Wide World of Sports. I was watching the Ironman in 1989, and Mark Allen and Dave Scott were running that race that year. Mark won that year in 8 hours. And then Paula Newby Frazier, the first female, came through after 9 hours. And I thought, well, if she could do it, I could do it. Right? That was what I thought when I was 17 years old. Then I go to my grandpa and told him, well, I'm going to do the Ironman World Championship. He's like, well, when you go, I'll go with you. So there was my other why. I was like, wow. So my first Ironman, I was Ironman Wisconsin. I did it before my 31st birthday, and I finished. I finished the Ironman, but I realized after that first Ironman, I didn't need my dad's validation anymore. It was more of, okay, great. Now let's try to get to Hawaii.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like qualifying requirements that go into making it to Hawaii. I'm guessing, is that right?
Yeah. There is. Yes. Yes. So now it has changed since start just talking to you now, but during my time, you pretty much had to be in the top 2 or 3 of your age group to go to Hawaii. So the I did 2 Ironmans. My second Ironman, I was 84 seconds off of that spot to go to Hawaii. 84 seconds. And the crazy thing is, though, is that if I qualified for Hawaii on that, like that second time, I wouldn't have the story that I have today because it literally took me 28 years to qualify for Hawaii. But I knew it's what I wanted to do. I knew I had to get to Hawaii. I don't know why. It was that something in my head that grandpa was like, when you go, I'll go with you. So,
Well, I think that's a great story of perseverance. And like you said, it goes back to you have to commit, right? And,
mm-hmm.
for something that is as difficult as an Ironman, it takes a serious level of commitment. I love what you said when you were like, give me a year of your life. Don't give me 6 months.
Yeah.
Don't give me a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. You really have to dedicate yourself to what you're doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It made me think about a coworker of mine. He's recently getting back into fitness, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do the grandma's marathon." I'm like, like, man, I mean, like, if I get it, and I think literally good for you,
Sure.
but it's like, do you understand? You need a personal trainer, you need like
Mm-hmm.
a dietitian, like because if I'm going to commit to something, like I'm going into that thing, like I'm going to try and win the race. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think I just have like this hyper competitive drive, and again, when I'm like motivated to do something, I want to do it to the best of my ability, and lay waste to everybody else that's competing with me.
For
But
sure.
again, it's when you're going into coaching, and I love that story about your client. She can't swim. Where did you start to like teach her? I'm thinking like you get out like either you start doggy paddle or you get out like one of those floaty toys. Like what did
Yeah.
you do to get her started?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what happened. Like, I was like, okay, she's right. She can't swim. And so I got in the pool with her and I was like, all right. And I would show her and then I would break it down because back in the college years in Whitewater, I was, summer school, I was a lifeguard, I taught swimming lessons, I worked at the bar. I mean, that was Whitewater, Wisconsin. I was riding my bike everywhere to do my traveling. So, but I taught swimming lessons. So I did the same thing with her. I broke it down. I was like, all right, we're going to work on our breathing. We're going to work on our arms. We're going to work on our legs. We're going to work on our balance and our core. And it's really what she did. And then the thing with her is that she was motivated. She was motivated to go do that half Ironman. Then she was motivated to do her Ironman. And that's what she needed. She just needed that guidance, you know? And I even tell my women to this day, I'm like, give me 90 days. Give me 90 days. I will change your life, but you have to do the work. My triathletes do the same thing. I know Jen will change my life, but I have to go, I have to swim, bike, run, strength train, and look at my nutrition, et cetera, et cetera.
No, that's amazing. And, like you said, you're putting that plan in place and you're giving them, goals that they can achieve before they reach like their ultimate goal. And I think that's super important because it's like, you can't just be like, all right, we're going to train, and then, do an Ironman.
Yeah.
Like that was actually kind of my thought process of like, how would I do an Ironman? I was like, well, I'd just go swim a lot, go run a lot, go bike a lot.
Right.
Like, I would probably fail miserably now that I think about it. But setting up those achievable goals along the way, again, I think it reinforces the motivation that people have because I see this quote all the time where it's like motivation is great, but consistency is what's going to take you to where you want to go. And again, it's like you're creating that consistency of like, hey, like here's what we're going to do. We're going to achieve this goal. Stay consistent, you will achieve this goal. Stay consistent, you'll achieve your ultimate goal. And so I think that's so amazing. And, I think this is a good time to transition to, again, talking about Ironmans into like your fitness coaching. Now, do you specifically specialize with women when you're doing your coaching or do you, anyone can do it?
Yeah, for the most part, anyone can do it. I do work with men, but I do put a cap on working with men because I feel like women really need my help and my mindset. And like I said, I can get them where they need to go, but they have to do the work and they have to trust me for doing that work. But yeah, I still work with men as well. But yeah, I'm a big advocate of really just educating people on fitness in general, especially as we are aging, going into our 40s and up.
No, that's amazing. Can you dive a little bit deeper into like your coaching techniques, the fitness advice and what you do with folks?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've noticed you specifically specialize in an area of people like 35 and older. Kind of give us a
Mm-hmm.
breakdown of what that looks like and really the information and the advice that you're giving to your clients.
Sure. So when I transitioned from triathlon coaching to fitness life coaching, I started recognizing that a lot of us women were going through a major change. That change could be perimenopausal, menopause, divorce, loss of a child, loss of a parent, empty nest syndrome, and even a little bit of loss of themselves. Like they all of a sudden they stand in the mirror and being like, whoa, I've been taking care of so many of everybody else. Where did I go? What happened to me? Like I see a lot of caregivers will reach out to me and then they have a hard time investing in themselves because they're so used to giving to everybody else, but not taking time for themselves. So I am a person that walks the walk, talks the talk. I perimenopausal, menopause, divorce, not emptiness, loss of a parent, and loss of children. I've had 3 miscarriages. So I get it. I get it. And the 3 things that kept this brain intact was my strength training and my fitness, whether I was surfing, yoga, walking. I wasn't swimming, biking, and running anymore. I was like, I'm done. I'm retired, a retired triathlete. But definitely the strength training, man, strength training, HIIT workouts, that type of thing, huge, 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 huge. Another thing was my nutrition and really focusing on my macronutrients, my carbohydrates, my fats, and my proteins, making sure I'm getting at least 120 ounces of water a day. My very first 32 ounces of water is with lime and salt before I even touch my coffee anymore. It's a habit that I've developed. And then mindset. So when I worked on my mindset, a lot of the mindset thought process came through my training and my Ironman, but I also focus on meditation or quiet time, whatever, talking to your higher power, God, whatever your beliefs are, and then journaling. And a lot of people have a hard time like doing a pen to paper, but I'm like, hey, just take your phone, do voice notes, do voice to text. A lot of people don't like that old school style stuff. It's like you got your phone probably with you 20, hopefully not 24/7, but I mean, it's so if you have thoughts, and so big picture wise, fitness, nutrition, mindset is everything that kept as the pillars of jenrulon.com.
No, I love that. It reminds me of my own journey where when you say you lost a parent, I've lost both of my parents.
Mm.
My dad passed away when I was in sixth grade, died suddenly of a heart attack, and my mom
Wow.
passed away when I was 22 from ALS, and that has a big impact on you, especially as you're growing. I'd recently graduated college when my mom passed, and so like I'm entering into this whole new world of adulthood, and that was a huge struggle for me. I turned
Yeah.
to drugs, alcohol. I've gotten as much trouble as a human can probably get into. But again, it's what you mentioned is really trying to focus and hone in on your health, your eating habits, and mindset as well. I'm 37 now, and so I've seen a big transition from now I eat healthy about 99% of the time.
Of course.
I stay away from alcohol 99% of the
Mm-hmm.
time. And my when I think about how I meditate, you mentioned like doing voice notes or writing stuff down. My big thing is like I like getting into the sauna and just using that time as
Mm.
like my zen. It's one of my favorite parts of every day that I actually get to go to the sauna is just being able to take my headphones out, just be in a
Yes.
quiet environment, sweat my ass off. But again, that's like my time to really think internally and really like let go of a lot of that stress. I got to give a shout out to Perspire Sauna Studio, and it's an infrared sauna. It is absolutely
Oh,
amazing, and
jealous.
I'm not kidding you. It was.
Yeah.
I sit in like the normal saunas that have like the heat registers,
Yeah.
but this is a whole different experience. One, because Perspire has you get your own little sauna studio, so there's no one
Yep.
else that can possibly go in there. You can control the lights. So I like doing the infrared lights for about 30 minutes, and then I do like some blue light therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a TV that you can hook into, and I put on just like meditation music, and I did it for 3 weeks in a row, and it was such a game changer. So
Yeah.
anyone that's out there that's looking for an opportunity to experience an infrared sauna, I couldn't recommend it any higher. Shout out to Robin, who's hooked me up with that in Plymouth, and I think she runs the one in Edina. She may run all the Minnesota studios, but for our listeners, there's Perspire Sauna Studios all over the country. I know, Jen. I know you're in Costa Rica. They better build one there soon. So,
Right, exactly.
but
Well, my sauna might be sitting out on that surfboard yesterday, for a good hour. A little different, but yeah, I do miss red. I do miss red sauna, red light therapy. With saunas, I do the infrared.
I mean, it's so different. I mean,
It's so different.
what I like about them is like it almost heats you up internally, and then
Yeah,
before like you get too overwhelmed by the heat. Where like regular saunas, like I feel like my skin's on fire after about 45 minutes.
right.
I don't necessarily feel like the benefits of it. And it's so interesting too because like with sauna, like it really has become a strong therapeutic outlet for me.
It's
But
amazing.
again, it's like I didn't know anything about infrareds. I was like, how can this possibly be any different? This is all a bunch of bullshit.
Right, right.
But honestly, like the first time I was like, oh, this is great, this is nice. But it only went up to 160. Usually the saunas that I go to at Lifetime will get anywhere from like 175 to 185. So they're a little bit hotter. You sweat a little bit more like right away.
Uh huh.
But again, I think like the the lasting effects from an infrared sauna, I just like it was incredible. After that third week, I'm like, I am so pot committed to doing this now. I did skip
Right,
last week. I'll probably skip this week, but I definitely got to get back in there, and definitely it's got to become part of my routine for sure. But
for
I think
sure.
this is another area that you had mentioned as well with your coaching is really finding that routine, right? Finding
Mm,
somebody that works finding something that works for you, because you don't have like a single plan that fits everybody, right?
No.
Walk us through how you engage with your clients to put together plans for them.
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing for me is I get on a call with them once a week. And it is up to them to schedule the call. They're adults, right? But the biggest thing for me is I do about 10-15 minutes about the physical and the nutrition. It's like, all right, what do you have going on next week? Do I need to move workouts around? Okay, you're traveling over here. Okay, so then that's a travel day. We'll use that as a day off. We'll move this over here. Like, it's just really me. It's almost like a big Tetris game, right? On that on the fitness side. Then we take that time and we talk about the nutrition. Okay, what do you struggle on? Okay, you're a little short on the protein. All right, so then I go into my app. I look at what they're struggling on. It's like, all right, you're not eating the protein. We need to up the protein. This is what you could add. And then I would offer them, pieces of advice or different type of thing. And then usually those last maybe 40 minutes or so, we just talk about mindset. We talk about everyday life. We talk about what are they struggling with. We talk about whether they're struggling with parents, whether they're talking about work, like, oh my gosh, I'm applying for a new job. Like, so we'd start talking about like, all right, time to build the confidence. What does your clothing look like? What does this look like? What does that look like? Where are we at? Like, do you have makeup? Like, especially with my women, right? Because a lot of my women are wanting to go into life with more confidence and they're just sort of like a little timid. So like I'm trying to uplift them through fitness, through their eating, but then also that mindset. Okay, you want to feel better about yourself, put on a dress, put on a little makeup, do your hair, stop wearing bikinis, stop wearing workout clothes. That's the thing for me. Like for me, I live in Costa Rica. It's very easy to go from workout to bikini and back to workout clothes. It's like, no, you want to step it up in your business? All right, put a dress on. Start talking to your clients with a dress on, like little things like that. So with my clients, I am a big advocate of talking to them 1 to 2 times a week. And then I will reach out to them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday individually, whether it's a voice message, whether I send a picture for them from the beach, whether I do the voice message on the beach, so they could hear the ocean waves. Sometimes I'll just put the phone up so they could hear those ocean waves for a minute. So they could just to say, hey, this is what you need today. Take it. Listen to these oceans. Like, just take time for yourself. So, and then I reach out to them in a group setting on a Tuesday, Thursday as well. But it's really that accountability. And then every morning I wake up and I see who's done what and who hasn't done what. So I'll reach out. Hey, I saw you didn't get that bike in yesterday. Everything okay? How's it going? Yeah.
So with those plans, you're holding them accountable, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they document everything like through like an app, or how do you like keep track of everyone's progress?
Yeah, I have an app. I use an app with my fitness and my triathletes. So there's an app that I use in the triathlon space. It's called Training Peaks, and it's pretty. I hate to say it, but it's pretty much Excel spreadsheet on crack. Like, it's great because you can, like, all my triathletes will upload their Garmin or their Suntra watch and it goes right into the system. I mean, and then it just breaks everything down. It's really good. And then the app that I use is my Rulon app. And but that's also, it's a white label. It's called Trainerize, and Trainerize does an amazing job, but I put a lot of my own videos in the app. So like when my clients say, oh, I need to do, or when I design the program for them, my videos are in there so they could see me doing the workouts and doing the movements.
No, that's amazing, because I'm actually curious. I should have asked you this when we first introduced. But do you have like education or certifications in these areas that you're coaching, fitness, and things like that?
No, I'm joking.
That was
No, I'm joking.
that's totally
No, no,
fine.
no, no. I do. No, I'm totally messing with you.
Oh, I was gonna say,
No,
God, that sounds so bad.
totally messing with you. No, I have a master's degree in kinesiology with an emphasis of exercise science. My undergrad was biology psychology, And so, yeah, I actually went back to get my master's um, in between like my first career and like my fitness career. So I went back when I was in my 40s.
Oh, that's a big proponent for never give up at school. You know, it's funny. We
Yeah.
actually have the same. Well, I don't have a master's degree, but my bachelor's degree was in health and human performance, so kinesiology.
Ah,
So,
perfect. Yep.
it's so funny too because like I have never once used that degree for any sort of like career that I've ever had, but it has allowed me to actually be a little bit more knowledgeable than a lot of folks when it
Yes.
comes to my own health and fitness.
Yep.
Like you said, everyone puts together their own plans, and with my background in education, my background in athletics, I know exactly what I need to do in order
For
to keep
sure.
myself in shape. At one point in time, I probably weighed like 280 pounds, and I weighed
Wow.
myself. I weighed myself the other day. I was like 202 pounds, and so it's like,
How
you know,
tall are you though?
I don't want to lie on camera. I'm 5'11", like right on the
Are
dot.
you? You seem taller though to me.
I think it's just my confidence that I portray. I don't know,
For
but
sure.
no, it's like, being at that body weight of, 280 pounds at, my height is just, it was so unhealthy.
Yeah.
But, I still had somewhat of an athletic build. And again, I wasn't necessarily starting from scratch when I went on my health journey. The number one thing,
Sure.
stop drinking alcohol. That was the number one thing I had to do. And, that was almost created a snowball effect. Okay, I'm not drinking alcohol. I have more energy. I'm sleeping better. I'm recovering better.
Hmm.
I'm getting more out of my workouts. I'm working out on a more consistent basis, and I'm challenging myself more. I'm not just doing the same old stuff I used to do in the gym,
Yeah.
same like 3 exercises. Really started challenging myself, incorporating new movements, and being able to challenge my body in different ways that again keeps me motivated. It goes back to when we talked about committing to something, having
Hmm.
that long term plan. It wasn't just like, oh, I just want to lose a bunch of weight. No, I want to get down to like she's I probably weighed about 230 in high school. So like I weigh less now than I did
Okay.
like junior high. And that was my main goal is like I just want to get in the best shape of my life. But like how do I do that? And one is again, it goes back to just having the consistency every day, eating right, avoiding the alcohol. But again,
Hmm.
it's commitment. It's
Yeah.
every day that there is no end game here. It's like I want to be
Hmm.
healthy the rest of my life. And
Hmm.
I know what steps that need to be incorporated in order to do that. And again, I think it
Right.
goes back to my education. It goes back to my athletics. And for you said you're in athletics. You've been in triathlons, Ironmans. You have a wealth of knowledge that you get to share with your clients. I think,
Hmm.
like, I'm guessing they really appreciate that, and you build up a level of trust with them as well.
100%. Yeah. I think the biggest thing too is that, like I said, I walk the walk, I talk the talk, and I have challenges myself. Like like I see my body differently than other people see it. It's just something that I've been brought up with, but it's like, oh, all right, well that's something you need to work on. So then I know, okay, it's time to cut the bread out. It's time to cut the little pieces of chocolate that are starting to add up because it's the holidays. And it's like, oh, there's that sugar cookie that's coming about because of the holidays, right? So it's a challenge that I have to deal with every day as well, because it's yeah, it doesn't come it's not easy for me all the time either. People think, oh, well, you're an athlete. This is, no, I have to constantly be aware of what I'm eating and making sure I'm getting my workouts in. And I tell people this: once we start developing habits, those habits are going to become non negotiables. And you won't even second guess of not working out when you're on vacation. Or, it's part of life. It's part of your life. It's not a new year, new me BS. It's every day, every year type of thing.
You're so correct. It's funny. I used to work at Lifetime. I did sales, and
Oh
everyone's
gosh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, when you're in sales at a fitness club, like the new year is like that's when you're making all your commission, all your
Yes.
money.
Oh yeah.
And like I'll never forget this. Like I probably had like 30 to 40 people sign up on their memberships,
Yeah.
and within like the first month, like 95% of them canceled their membership. And again, it's
Hmm.
like, people like they overthink, or I shouldn't say they overthink. I think they
I do.
overestimate the amount of effort and time and commitment
Oh,
that actually
that's
goes
true.
into it. And it becomes overwhelming. And so, they lean back to their
Hmm.
default is I'm just going to go back to my regular life. How
Yep.
do you, emphasize to your clients who maybe have a long journey in front of them? How do you get them to, really commit to, what this new lifestyle is going to be like for them?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing that I try to get them to recognize is the wins that they've already accomplished. So let's say you're 2 months working with me, and I didn't bring this up, but every Friday I have them weigh in, I have them take photos, and I have them do measurements. And these photos are just for me, unless I say, hey, can I use your photos for my social media, whatever. But it's I always try to look at the little wins. Okay, guess what? You got all your protein in this week. You got all your protein in, this or for the whole month, whatever that might be. Like look at these little wins. What I also love is the photos because when they first take the photos, the very first photos,
Yeah.
they're all like grumpy. They're like, man, I don't like my life. I look miserable. I'm not happy. And then as the 3 months, the 4 months, the 6 months, you start seeing that confidence because they're like, hey, check me out, that type of thing. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I really try to find the little wins in every month that they're working with me. And then long term wise, they're going to start seeing, 90 days. All right. So then they're like, okay, what if I go another 30 days? What if I go another 60 days? Man, what am I going to look like? Like I have a guy that found me on TikTok live and he's like, I'm going to hire you. I don't know how. I don't have the money, but I'm going to make it happen. And he's hired me and he's like, Jen, I've lost 30 pounds. I want to get down to 180 now. And he's making all this money. He's like, I don't know what you did. I don't know if you put a magic spell on me, whatever. I'm like, no, I started telling you or suggesting to you, like, start taking care of yourself. Start doing the fitness, start doing the nutrition, start talking to your higher power, start really digging deep on what you want, and then start expressing gratitude. Then you'll start seeing the flow up. So yeah, I think it's the little wins and then really seeing the changes over time is really a positive thing.
I think that's like you said. I think that's more addicting than drugs. When you see like the results of this changed lifestyle, and it, I swear to God, it motivates you to go even further. Take that next step,
Hmm.
challenge yourself again, and by doing this, you're taking just these massive positive steps in the right direction for not only
Hmm.
your health but your life and your mood, your mental health, and like just there's so many things that people don't recognize that go into taking these positive or making these positive changes in your life.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most critical things is like as an adult, your life is stressful no matter what, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking about because like I just moved to a new home. I'm like, oh my god, my life is crazy right now. But again, it's like that's my outlet when I get to go to the gym. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to
Uh-huh.
the gym today, and I'm like, I'm like going stir crazy because I haven't even left the house today.
Go for a walk.
I know. I was thinking about
Just
that.
seriously, throw the hoodie on because I'm sure it's
It's
cold, and just
freezing
go
out.
for a walk.
It's freezing.
Just go for a walk.
I was gonna say I might do like 100 push-ups or something, and then maybe go
There
for.
you go. There you
But
go.
but again, I think that's a positive thing for me when like I recognize like hey, like I haven't done much movement today, but
Hmm.
again, like there's options on the table because I'm one of those people where it's like I can't work out at home. I don't do well even working from home. Like I got to be out and about. I got to be
Yeah.
around people. I got to challenge myself. And again, but like you said, it's like when you don't have to punish yourself when you don't work out for one
Oh,
day, right?
no. Thank you for saying that. Seriously, I have had clients reach out to me and say, "Oh, Jen, I've disappointed you." I'm like, "Why?" "Oh, I didn't work out today or I didn't jump on the bike." I'm like, "I'm not disappointed in you. I think you're saying that to yourself." are you disappointing yourself? I'm not disappointed in you. And even like I've had some athletes, like they would cross the finish line to the Ironman. Oh, I disappointed you. What? You just finished?
Yeah.
No, well, I didn't do the time that we slated to talk. I don't care. You did it. You got through the hurdles that like you were struggling with during your event, and even the other day I had some clients, it's a couple that I work with, and they were like, look what we're eating. And it was like this big thing of cake with ice cream. I'm like, okay, put it in your macros.
Right.
Seriously, like don't let like, oh, I'm eating bad. Well, what is bad? That's society's way of talking, And that was something that I learned back in my degree. It's like, oh, is broccoli bad or is donuts bad for you? Well, it all depends on the situation, right? If I'm done with an Ironman and I want a donut for 7 days, one donut a day for 7 days, I will do it, and I've done it numerous times. Like I would go and get like the Voodoo Donuts in Austin, and
Sure.
I would have a donut every single day. Usually by day 6, I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then I would never eat a donut until the next Ironman, right? But then like for me to eat a piece of broccoli after an Ironman, it's not the best thing. So it's I just I when people say, "Oh, I feel guilty because I didn't work out or I ate this or this was bad for me." Who said it's bad for you? Society? Like you need to see like, okay, you know what? I lifted, I surfed, I went for a walk, I played with my kids. Yeah, I'm going to have a burger with fries.
Yeah, a
But just
burger,
put
like a burger's not even that bad for you. I
I
swear.
know. I had a burger, but I had a lettuce wrap at lunch today. It was amazing.
There you go.
You
It's
know?
funny, it's
But
funny when you mention
anyways,
donuts too, because so like where I work, our office is in downtown Minneapolis, and they have this place called Cardigan Donuts. And there's a Mediterranean place whenever I go out for lunch.
sure.
It's a very
Oh,
healthy option that I
Mediterranean. I love Mediterranean
best
food.
food ever. But I always have to walk past this place called Cardigan Donuts, and they have an old fashioned that if I look at it, I have to get it. But it's like if I worked out there, it's like
Right.
I already know I'm having a healthy lunch. It's a zero carb lunch actually. They'll
Yeah.
give me my carb for the day, and then I just adjust what my dinner plans are
Bingo.
whenever I'm eating the rest.
Nailed it.
And so I did want to chat with you a little bit about like diet, fad diets in this day and age with
Mm,
like keto, Atkins, or fasting. Is there like what are your thoughts on that subject and these the different fad diets? I will say this: I do a mix of like keto. I do a little bit of intermittent fasting, but I don't like stick to one thing. I like to kind of mix it up.
sure.
But what are your thoughts on the different diets in this day and age?
I mean, as a as a triathlete, as a CrossFit junkie, because I did CrossFit, drank the Kool-Aid, did all that stuff. I was on paleo. I really liked paleo actually, but that was when I was in my, early 40s, which is what it was great. It was late 30s, early 40s when I was on the paleo. I did do intermittent fasting, and I felt like that was really good for me because it was something I could control when I was going through my separation and my divorce. But knowing what I know now, I did get a certification in menopause coaching that intermittent fasting is one of the worst diets for women in perimenopausal and menopause.
Okay, I was like, I thought you were saying
No, no,
something
no, no,
right now. I'm
no,
like, oh my god,
no, 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 no. Yeah, for women, it's awful because what the body is asking as a woman, we're asking, when's our next meal? When's our next meal? And so what happens is that if the body doesn't know when the next meal is, what's happening? That cortisol spikes, that insulin spikes. And so the body is holding on to that fat. And so here we are as women, we're like, oh, we got to fast, 15 hours, blah, blah, blah. No, we don't. We don't need to fast. We need to start jump starting our metabolism, especially as we age. So that's something that I've learned. Um, I think it's different for everybody, whether you want to do keto, intermittent fasting, paleo, counting your macros, whatever that is. I had a gentleman that I worked with, and before he worked with me, he did the carnivore diet.
sure.
right? So then he was almost to be 60. And I said to him, I go, all right, I go, I'm going to get you off of that carnivore diet and we're going to start implementing carbohydrates. Oh, I don't eat bread. I'm not just talking about bread.
Right.
I'm talking about rice. I'm talking about uh, vegetables, fruits. You know, that I don't need. It's not just bread. You know, even if you did a light pasta, I don't do pasta much, to be honest with you. Quinoa, you know, little things like that. Bananas have carbohydrates. Like people forget about like just the simple things. So once I started getting him in carbohydrates, he started fueling the muscles and you start seeing the difference because he was still in the gym working out, but he was just almost like it was just protein, 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 carbs, carbs. Now, once again, everybody's different. Men and women are especially different.
Well, I think that's where the misconception when it comes to like education, like people think carbs, they immediately think bread. It's like there's so many different carbs out there.
Yes.
And that's something I think in my younger years, I was a victim of like, thinking like, oh, I just won't eat bread. I won't eat any carbs. But, as I've aged, it's like I do a lot of like eggs with chicken and rice. I'll do
Yep.
sweet potatoes. I'll do regular potatoes. And, again, it's like I try to avoid seed oils. I try
Yep.
to
Same.
make sure I avoid like foods with a lot of sugar. Like I don't drink any soda. I have a secret for anyone that is, if you really like soda, I like getting like those they're like green tea like packets, zero sugar, and then I'll take like a big thing like a Yeti or a Stanley cup, fill it all the way with ice, and then I use sparkling waters with a
Oh,
little bit of like green tea mix. And then my girlfriend gets like this like green machine mix thing. It's super. It's like spinach and all these other like green vegetable stuff.
uh-huh.
But I mix that in, and it's got like the carbonation of like a soda, but zero sugar. Doesn't have like the aspartame or all that bullshit in it. And like I could drink 12 of those and I'd be just fine. And so again, it's just like finding those simple solutions to the things that you really enjoy and creating a little bit of a healthier balance with those things. I think is so important. And I think, again, that's where education from someone like you is so vital to your customers because again, you know, they don't know what they don't know. And that's something I was using today when I was talking to somebody. I was like, there's a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about. And
Yes.
I don't claim to be an expert, but I've really honed in on what really works for me, and really
Hmm.
just kind of sticking to that plan.
For sure. And that's what I try to educate my people on. It's like, you know, I actually had one guy, he was from Minnesota. He owned a whole bunch of garbage trucks and his way of eating was awful. Awful. And I'm like, how can we shift the perspective? Like how like you don't need to go and eat 5 burgers. Like that's like you have to, you know, you got to learn how to drop, you know, you have to learn how to pull back. And like, but that's what he did. He would do intermittent fast or he would do fasting and he would do fasting like all week. And then he would drop the weight quick, right? And then over the weekends, what would he do? The
Mhm.
body was like, oh my God, I'm starving. And he would just mound up and then he would be even a higher weight. So finally, after the 3 months, I got him consistent on the weight drop because I got him to eat consistently throughout the week and not worrying about the fasting. But once again, I had to adjust because I was like, no, I got to get you to eat. Even if you went and got like protein shakes or whatever, like for your breakfast and a banana, like that's better than maybe going to McDonald's and having an egg McMuffin for 5 days a week. You know what I mean? You do that one day out of the month. You treat yourself.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because that was a cycle I found myself in. So I used to work in facility management at the airport in Minneapolis. And, from my house to the airport, there was always a McDonald's that would always be open. So I'd have to go at like between like 3 and 6 in the morning.
Oof.
So like, nothing's open except for this McDonald's. So like every morning I'd had to get up. It was always I'd get 2 egg McMuffins, 2 hash browns, and like all of a sudden I just noticed I kept putting on weight. But like again, it's
Yeah.
like it's those cycles that people
It's
fall into. And
yes.
it's so easy as well. And it's like, again, like I've been a victim of it. You mentioned that, it's something that, a lot of your clients go through. And
Hmm.
I think that's what's important is sharing with people that you're not alone in these journeys. It's not just you.
No.
And, again, I think that's a critical point too, that allows people to be vulnerable and, share the sensitive information that is required for them to make these positive life changes.
Very much so. I mean, you talked about drinking. I will be 5 years sober on December 7th.
Hell yeah, that's so awesome! Congratulations. I mean, that is
Thank you.
that is a huge accomplishment. I
Thank you.
I'll admit I went to the Gopher game. So one of my closest friends, his cousin is a senior for the Gopher on the team, so they like celebrated
Nice.
him. And like we were at the tailgate, and it's like I didn't drink the entire day, but like we got to dinner, and I had a couple of beers, and it's like I was
Sure.
like I remember like waking up in the morning. I mean, I felt completely fine, and
Sure.
I didn't get blasted or anything. But again, it was like reinforcing the idea of like, hey, like like if this becomes a habit again, you're going to go
Yep.
down the
Yep.
wrong path again.
Yeah.
And again, it's just recognizing it, keeping it under control, and
hmm
recognizing, hey, like it's okay to maybe have one or two drinks at a
Yeah.
time, but like you can't be going out having 50. Like you
Right.
and again, I think as people get older, they get wiser, they understand their
Yeah.
bodies a little bit better. At least, hopefully, that's the case.
Yeah.
But again, it's like recognizing when you start to fall into the bad patterns of before, and
hmm
adjusting and falling right back onto the right path.
Yeah.
But
I remember saying, oh, sorry. I
no,
remember
no, go
saying
ahead.
something I remember posting something on Facebook saying that I'm 1 year sober, and somebody's like, man, I didn't know you had a problem. And then somebody responded back, you don't have to hit rock bottom to stop drinking.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, good. Like that stuck in my head. No, I wasn't a drunk. I wasn't an alcoholic, but like I could see that happening because it was in my family with my dad, my grandpa, and my great grandmother. It was a generation. I was like, nope, I'm going to break this curse. Like I'm done. My brother broke it a year before me. So it's like no. And honestly, it was like after I did that, it was the best thing I ever did and felt. And I've had other people reach out to me and say, how did you do it? you know can you help me?
I think it's willpower. That's
Willpower,
that's
right?
well, and I think especially when I was younger too. It's like everyone like my age, my friends, all they like to do is party, go out, have a good time, pop
Yeah.
bottles. And again, as you get older, you start to recognize that your closest friends, they start to have families, they start to
Yeah.
move into new homes, they move away. You start to grow apart a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like there was times before I met my girlfriend that I would be super lonely because it's like all my friends are doing this, their lives are taking off, and like I'm stuck here just being a booze hound. And again, I think being able to recognize those things, having people to talk to, and
Yeah.
having positive influences in your life, those are always so critical. But I was
hmm
going to say this is a good transition because I've been
Yes.
waiting for this whole podcast to
Okay.
ask you this question. And again, this is something that I chat with all of our listeners on, and we really
Oh.
want to know what makes you #rise and go.
hmm I think, let me rephrase that. Let me say this. I freaking love life. I absolutely love life. I've always been a positive, happy person, even when shit's going down. And I've always like, how do I look at this hard point in my life? How do I make it a positive thought or a learning, right? So for me, it's, I get excited to live. I get excited to wake up and have that cup of coffee on the beach. I get excited to talk to my clients and see their faces go from grumpy to smiling 3 months later or 6 months later. I get to inspire and motivate people on my social media platform or on my TikTok lives or whatever. Like to me, my motivation is to really help others live their life authentically and step out of society's norm, because I did.
No, that's amazing. And I think that is a challenge that a lot of people face is like, I'm just going to go with the flow. I'm going to do what everybody else is doing. But like when you separate yourself and get yourself outside of your comfort zone,
Hmm.
I truthfully believe that's where the magic happens. And,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, it's, being able to have these massive impacts on people that you work with. I
Hmm.
got to imagine, there's, you've shared some great stories, but, again, to see a client really go from, one place to, where they really want to be.
Hmm.
I mean, again, it's like when I work with so I coach baseball at McAllister, it's a college here in
Hmm.
Minnesota, and the first time I saw my group of outfielders go from first years to seniors, I mean, I didn't really recognize the impact. I'm just your coach. I see you a couple times a week,
Yeah.
but when I see them and they genuinely care, they talk to me afterwards. They when they stay in Minnesota, that's amazing because then I actually get to see them. But I see them like take off on this journey of being young adults,
Hmm.
and again, it's just like just knowing that I had that impact to positively affect them in like their life moving
Hmm.
forward. It's like you said, it's sometimes that is the very best part of my day is being around
Hmm.
those kids and just being able to impart the wisdom on them that I
Yeah.
learned in my past.
Something I would love to start doing is I have a group coaching called Empower Her. I would love to, like, big picture wise, like BHAG goal, I would love to take the Empower Her women and somehow take us and go into schools with the girls that, the age from like 13 to 18, and really take the learning that we learned from 40s and like the second part of our change, because we all remember that stage of our lives, that 13 to 18. It was that's a major change, especially for girls. I'm sure guys too, but it was but I would love to take those women and bring them into schools and talk to girls about change and how they can level up each other and not bring each other down.
And I love that too because in this day and age with like technology,
Oh,
every teenager
social.
has, yeah, it's again,
Oof.
I think there is an opportunity, like you said, to really educate, not only young women but young men about the
Hmm.
power of like, being a positive impact on not only your school, your friends, your community,
Hmm.
because it's like everything is like, shock and awe these days. It's like I spend way too much time on social media, but it's like I find myself like watching fight videos or like watching all like these crazy things that people are doing to try and go viral. And like that's not really what life is about.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
And again, I was actually I've been seeing a lot of this. It's like there's like a declining like birth rate amongst populations going on around the world. It's starting to get like pretty bad. And again, it's like you talk about working with women that are postmenopausal or going
Right.
into entering these different stages of life.
Yep.
And I guarantee 99% of like teenage kids have no idea like that's like possible and how they can prepare for that stage
Right.
or be knowledgeable about it, help like their mother through that or a sister or a
Yeah.
grandfather, grandmother. Grandfathers probably don't go through menopause, but again, it's like how can you be a positive influence on someone's life? That is like the aim of Elevant and
Yes.
our Rise and Go model is
Love that.
we want to help people, and like that's what
Yeah.
brings me the most joy in my life. Whether it's I'm when I recruit at work and I someone gets a job offer from our company or I'm working with our baseball guys, or I'm at the gym and I have just a really great conversation with somebody that I meet there. It's those positive impacts that
Hmm.
again it continues to inspire me with Elevant. Especially with our Rising Go Mile, you can see it up there.
Exactly.
It's funny. I was actually like, I gotta get a tattoo or something of this Rise and Go model because I have some tattoo ideas. But I think
Okay.
I gotta get Rise and Go like across the chest here. So if I ever take my shirt off, like people will see it like right away.
See it. Rise and go. Yes.
But no, again, I love to hear that you're making a positive impact on this world. You're helping out a lot of people, and you have a great story too. I love hearing about the
Thanks.
Ironmans. Being a triathlete. Those are incredible journeys that you've been on. But before we wrap here, can you give
Yes.
everyone your social media handles and where to find you again?
Yes. You could go to jenrulon.com. That's a very fresh and so clean website. You can go to Instagram, Coach Jen Rulon. You could go to TikTok, Coach Jen Rulon. You could also go to Facebook. Definitely not as active on there either. So, but that's Jen Rulon as well.
I'm telling you, it's TikTok, it's TikTok, Instagram. I don't know. I
Exactly.
mean, those are the main ones that we use.
I
But for
agree.
our listeners, we're going to be dropping this one. Since it's a video podcast, this will be on YouTube. This will be on Spotify. This will be on Apple Music as well. It's the
Amazing.
Rise and Go podcast. Super easy to find. Follow us at Elevant MPLS on Instagram, Elevant5 on TikTok, Elevant on Facebook. Check out our new website. I know I said this in the beginning, but theelevantbrand.com. Super simple shopping experience. New gear, new apparel, men's, women's, it's all there. But
Amazing.
again, Jen, thank you. This
Thank
was
you,
super
Mike.
engaging.
This
This
was
was super
amazing.
fun. And then for you, we'll be dropping this podcast probably on Sunday. So keep an eye
Amazing.
out for that. I'll
Okay.
be in touch with you just so you
Great.
let you know when things are happening. But do you have anything to tell listeners before we go here?
If there's something you want to do in your life and you're hesitant or you're scared or you're just fearful of doing it, I want you to go and sit with yourself for 5 minutes and think about the life that you will have if this happens, whatever that is.
I absolutely love that because I'm being selfish right now because I'm thinking about like when I first started Elevant, I was like, what the hell am I doing? But to understand like where I started to where I'm at now, I can promise you that is 10 out of 10 advice right there. If you're scared, do it anyways. I can
Do
promise
it
you. You're gonna
anyways.
love it. All right, Jen, thank you so
All
much.
right, Mike. Thank you.
Awesome.